Hello everybody, this is Torpid, and I am now going to be doing random YouTube casts and occasional streams. So we're just going to get straight into it, and the first game that I want to show you was a brief game from the last fight club that we had at one of the weekends. I can't remember the exact date, and it was between me and Riku. It was a fairly interesting game. It was pretty unconventional, to be fair, as far as both of our builds go, but I'm going to start loading it up now. It's not too long of a game, it was only a 20-minute game, but it was a 1v1, and to be honest, most of my 1v1s seem to last about 20 minutes at tops. Whether I lose or win, it doesn't matter. So maybe that's just my playstyle, or maybe that's just a thing with 1v1s in general. So yeah, we're going to go now. I'm not sure about the volume in-game, whether that's too loud with the sound effects or the other things, the voices or the music. I'm not using any external music other than the Dawn of War music, so that's the thing. Really just keeping it simple for now anyway. But yeah, here we go. So obviously it's just the very conventional builds, Hormagaunts, 2 Termagants versus the Scouts and the Tactical Marines. I've sent the Scouts over here to cap this. In hindsight, I'm not sure whether that's a good idea or not. I guess I just wanted to send the Apo over here because I wanted to send the Tax into the middle. I don't want to send Scouts into the middle because they just get wrecked by Termagants. I figured maybe he'd send his hero down this side, and I guess it's better for my Scouts to come across the Lictor than the Tax, because the Tax alone are useless versus the Lictor. However, the Tax and the Apo combined are very powerful and can take on a lot without really bleeding themselves, but bleeding the Tyranids. In contrast, Riku caught his power, didn't send anything down the side, which to be honest I think is a fairly good idea because he would ultimately just be getting kited by Scouts, plus I could just use the buildings. Tyranids don't have much anti-garrison early on, so they do really want to avoid the buildings in the first place. Very good flesh up here from Riku. He waited for me to get quite far away and effectively back, because in the meantime the Hormagaunts could come forward and catch up with his Lictor and soak up the Termagants and they could maul the Apo. Kept the Apo in quite a while there, but I was just trying to get a little bit of XP on him by killing a few Hormagaunts and, you know, a little bit of bleeding the Tyranids. Didn't happen though, which is a shame. XP on the Apothecary is extremely important these days because of the fact that his heal now scales with his levels. So, as we can see, most of the map control really is in Riku's hands, but you would expect that because the Lictor Alpha in the first engagement is very tough to handle, especially a Space Marine since you can just infiltrate and tie up your attacks and then most of your DPS is gone really. I did get the side, which is quite important because now it means I can blob push through the middle, and when you blob up versus Tyranids you can bleed them hard, not bleeding yourself, at least if you're Space Marines. So I'm going for the Devastator Marine, Riku is going for the very conventional Warrior Brood, and we have some mobs chat, that's fun. So, bleed our model off those Hormagaunts, and force melee with the Tactical Marines and the Termagants, that's always a good idea. Always go first with your Tactical Marines before your Scouts, and that can be quite tricky at times if you're not microing properly because your Scouts naturally are faster than speed 6.5. But they're light infantry and they've got a lot less health than the Tactical Marines, so they can't be taking shots from the Termagants. He sends his Warrior Brood down here. I think that's a nice idea because, one, they're going to beat anything that approaches them solo, except from a Devastator. Two, the knockback that they do with their leap will prevent any units from running past them and getting into the building. And he does need to catch these at some point. I mean, that's a fully matured wreck point. He needs to make sure I don't keep that fully matured for a long time. And yeah, this isn't an official championship or anything. It's just 1v1 from the fight club that time, basically. So, let's have a look at the resources. I've got a really good map control now, to be fair, because I've still got this wreck point. They didn't get a chance to get that because I brought my Devastators forward. I did make a big mistake because I brought them too far forward and I couldn't set up in time. However, I also seem to have made a micro mistake here with my Scout, walking past Hormagaunts. That's bad. The timing heal though to make sure I don't lose any models. However, now I keep my Apo over there for too long. I didn't actually expect the crippling poison. I thought I'd be able to run away to my targets, but nope. So dead, Apothecary. However, we did manage to keep the Devastator and the Scouts on the field, so can move them back up the middle, or we can go catch that DPP again. I mean, we're doing pretty well right now. I mean, just look at the map control. It's pretty ridiculous. And to be honest, I'm not actually sure why I have such good map control at the moment, or why Riku doesn't. It's quite hard to say, actually. Attacks are just kiting back into the Devastator, which, if this was a high tyrant or Alpha, I just have won this engagement entirely. Nothing they can do against the Devastator. Not in this position. We can try and bring these tournaments around, but they just get shut up. But of course, we're not against the Ravener or the Hive Tyrant, we're against the Lictor Alpha. So all he does is hook the lead model, and then charges in. And notice how he takes a while to kill this model that he hooked. In my opinion, he shouldn't have even killed that one, although actually, even though he did kill that model and therefore the one back got the heavy bolter, he also got a melee charge from that, and that meant he got into my Devastator really fast. So I don't know, maybe that was a legit move to do. Getting pretty unfortunate here. You would think I'd have got a Warrior Brood model with the Apothecary chopping them as well. Only 200 HP and 3 models, that's quite unfortunate. 180 HP and 3 models. I don't know. Didn't get one. Pomegranat's still kept out in the field with only 4 out of 8 models. I think that's fine. I don't have any ASM, so we don't really need to have them reinforced. Counter initiation isn't a big deal for him as such. It's more to do with having more stuff to initiate. So he's going tier 2 quite a bit before me. I'm 35 power off still, so he also managed to get a gigantic lead in map control there with that little push, which is pretty good for him. And after he caught that BP, he brought his Hormagaunts back to heal them. We both have 3 gens, neither of us lost a gen in tier 1. We didn't put up any nodes on the contested powers. Do you think Riku is going to go for Genes or his own throw? Well, frankly, in this matchup, especially considering I don't have any ASM, there would be very little reason to go for Gene Stealers. I'd just get a Dreadnought, and there would be very little that the Tyranids could do. A Dreadnought plus a Librarian. I mean, either of them. Veil of Time, Heavy Bolters. What is a Gene Stealer Brood going to do against that? Not much. Just get suppressed and die and bleed models. What is it going to do versus the Dreadnought? Nothing. Just die and bleed models. So he will go for his own throw at some point. Riku, though, does always like the zone throws. And by the way, he doesn't go for the TG. Oh, actually, he does go for the TG after the zone throw. To be honest, I think that's actually a bad idea. Because, frankly, the Tyrant Guard has a lot more pressure on the map. Zone throbs are slow, just like the Tyrant Guard, and sure, zone throbs can fire from far away, but they're easy to kite and dodge. Tyrant Guards do a lot of damage, and you just can't go anywhere near where they are. If you flank a zone throb using like slide blockers, you can force it off. I don't know, I just feel like the Tyrant Guard would have had a lot more impact. You should have gone for that first, especially considering I only had one Devastator team. It's not like he needs zone throb to counter Devastator team. And I mean, one Devastator team is countered pretty easily by the Tyrant Guard anyway. Notice he has popped up a Capillary Tower instantly. Nice position for a Capillary Tower. Hang on a minute, I'm gonna see. Phew! That was probably rather loud. I missed the grenade and the Hormagaunts over there. It's a shame. Phew! A lovely flesh hook on the Apothecary. Notice he did the same trick as he did earlier, where he waited for my Apothecary to get quite far away, and therefore his Hormagaunts turned those close, and then pulled him back and killed him. He used Smite on the Warrior Brood because they're heavy infantry and Smite does plasma damage. Plus he got me a Synapse Bomb, got another Synapse Bomb with a Libby. Got him a little bit of XP. Disappointingly small amount of XP there. And yeah, Devastator versus Zone Throw. That's right. It works, because you get the Libby, and then you can use Veil of Time and suppress the Zone Throb. And the Zone Throb can't hit your Devastator while it's moving under Veil of Time. And yes, suppressing Zone Throbs is an effective way to counter them if they can't hit you because you have no setup time and you're moving really fast. Suppress Zone Throb can't attack. They die pretty fast, because it basically is the only way you can force a Zone Throb to retreat, quite frankly. Presumably, yeah, he's got feeder tendrils. You know, it's very passive. Yeah. What's he capping over here with his 3 model Hormigons, which he's getting on the Swarmlords, getting that for the other 2 Termagants, he's got it on them already. I've got the Mastercrafted Bolter now on my Apothecary. That's a very obvious choice. In the first place, it bleeds Termagants and Hormigons, and that gives me XP as well. And the second reason for that choice is that full auto ability is absolutely fantastic at countering zone throws. That was a nice little focus one blast to annihilate that devastating model. A little bit of Paul Micro from my scouts there, hanging around, basically letting the enemy get the cap. Tactical Marines going up to capture these 2 things at the side. Why am I saying Tacs to do that? Well, Tacs have a lot of health, sure, they can withstand the damage, but at the same time they also cap 50% quicker. And, yeah, they cap faster. They're the ones who should be capping over the Libby and the Apo. So what's going on now? Yeah, Riku is probably just saving up for a Tyrant Guard, if I can remember correctly. Improved medical equipment. Obviously just getting the improved medical equipment because I got the Armor of Purity, which reduces the cooldown on my heal. I don't really understand why the smite is so little damage there. I guess I missed slightly. Look at that full auto countering the Lictor Alpha so well. Veil of Time and the Devastators get away. Those warriors cannot catch me. The Librarian gets in there, gets Termagant models, and inspires all of my nearby troops, and get good damage. For some reason though, these Termagants just aren't dying. The Librarian, they've still got Veil of Time on them. Devastators. Pretty crazy. Nice little Hormignon usage here, just flanking around, trying to catch my natural requisition point, although, personally, I don't know if I'd have gone for this cap right here, because all of his army is a mile away, and he knows my stuff is up here. It's very, very risky for him to do that. I've had a massive lead in the map here, and I think partly this is to do with the map that we're playing on, because he has to commit a unit down here, and if he sends Termagants, they're really not going to do well on their own. He really doesn't want to send 2 Termagants, because then he needs focus fire in the main game. That was an unfortunate retreat path, but that's a dead Hormignon squad, I think. Even a smite on the tree, wow. Tyrant Guard charge plus leap on the Lictor Alpha is pretty much GG to those 2 Devastators, frankly. Unfortunately, the Devastator has 190 health, so Fleshhook won't kill him. Fleshhook does 140 or 130, something like that. I don't know. I don't think Fleshhook scales any levels. Maybe it does. No, I don't think it does. I think that's actually proposed for the next patch, actually. Veil of Time on the Libby, though, striking down the Lictor Alpha. And the Tyrant Guard is now out of Synapse, no nearby utility towers. So it's very slow and literally can be kited by tactical marines. Like, how did that not get a model? Librarian striking the screen. That's so sad. What am I doing here? Oh, I'm saving up for it right now. I'm gonna go see myself requisition. But the requisition is nice to float, really, because my upkeep is pretty high as a space marine, and you're going to be bleeding models versus look at the damage this Librarian does from 2 hits with a sword brings its shield down to 50. Pretty nice. Yeah, I might have wanted to get elite training on these scouts so they regen their health a lot faster when out of combat. Got 1 last cannon because you need it to snare that damn Tyrant Guard. And Riku is going for a fast tier 3. Now this is key to this match. This is really key. So the fast tier 3 means he can get out of Counter Effects or a Swarm Lord soon. But the thing is, Counter Effects and Swarm Lords themselves are not very good at dealing with las cannons. I already have a las cannon. They're also not very good at dealing with Dreadnoughts in any form. Formback Counter Effects does not do a lot to the melee Dreadnought. The Venom Counter Effects is great at range, but it's going to get snared by the las cannon and then tied up by the melee Dreadnought. And the Swarm Lord, yeah, it's even worse than the Formback Counter Effects versus the Dreadnought. So as you can see, there are problems. A bit of the time in the last cannon again, my Dreadnought breaks through this tree thing to get rid of the line of sight blocker, and the Tyrant Guard is frozen in place. Well, no, snared. But my Dreadnought also got snared by his shitty little Zone Throw. Zone Throw is very powerful. That's the great thing about the Zone Throw, though, to be honest. It's the fact that it solves all compositional problems that Tyranids have in Tier 1 by making it so that they can easily deal with suppression teams and rage blocks. And it serves as soft AV because it has the snare on vehicles, and that snare actually does decent damage too. So it's just like the most cost-effective unit ever. That what the Lictor. One more hit would have done it. Busting up some capillary towers, they give you a little bit of XP, but it is a little bit. So what's going on here? Riku's saving up for either a Carnifex or a Swarm Lord. If I remember correctly, he goes for a Swarm Lord. I don't know whether a Carnifex or a Swarm Lord would have been better. Personally, I would not have gone tier 3, I would have made sure I'd got a Venom Brood out too. I just like, honestly, Range Synapse Terminals. Look at these Terminals they're not even level 2 yet. They've got the same XP as my tactical brains. In my opinion, that's bad. They should have more XP than that. But they have not been killing a lot of scouts or anything. Fail, I'm not capping a point, cap a point, cap a point, cap a point. Oh yeah, and I also go for a Multi-Metal Dreadnought. I like Multi-Metal Dreadnoughts versus Tyranids a lot. It wrecks the Tyrant Guard really well. It scales versus Carnifexes and Swarm Lords really nicely. You can sometimes snipe Zone Throws with them. Notice how I use Quickening to counter the Flesh Up with the Lictor Alpha. And also, Meltdown does really good damage to the heavy infantry of Synapse creatures like Warriors and Venom Brews. Oh my god, I'm still not capping this point with my Scouts. How bad is this? Cap the point. So bad. I must have clicked it and it wasn't capping and I've just not realised. I don't know. Pop another Capillary Tower. And then get out of there, but the Swarm Lord is coming now. The main problem for Riku though is that he still lacks any serious ranged AV. That said, I don't have an abundance of AV, I've only got a Plasma Gun on my attack, so really for AV I'm relying on my Las Cannon and my Multi-Melted Dread. Warriors are going after the Scouts again. You see that leap allows them to kill a model even though I tried to get the building. If that was Armor Guards, that wouldn't happen. They'll be knocked over by the model. Try and throw a grenade in them, but Riku is wise to it. He dodges that pretty well. And the heavy infantry of the Warriors they're not bothered by those shotguns at all. See, look again, the Termagants killing the Scouts very, very quickly. If they had ranged Synapse, they'd be doing it a lot faster. Focus down the Librarian and the Apothecary faster. I think the ranged Synapse is really important, and obviously the Venom Brood aren't just there for ranged Synapse, they help us the Dreadnought Torpid as well. Anyway, he risked it, he went for a Swarm Lord. It's probably the best choice he could have gone for in tier 3 to be honest. Carnifex really would have done jack shit against my competition. He has his Endless Swarm. And me, notice I have no intention whatsoever of going to tier 3. I'm just going for another Dreadnought here. There's no reason for me to go to tier 3 whatsoever. Nothing in tier 3 is good. If I get a Predator, sure it can count his TG and his Swarm Lord, but he just gets snared by the Zone Throw and he gets the Venom Brood out and it's useless. Plus I'd be counting all for him there with a Predator. With a Dreadnought I can stand a bit closer. I don't know why I'm moving it forward, that's really bad. The lot of that Lictor again. Everything is now shooting my guard. Those things get suppressed by that. I use Basic Infinity to all my Devastators, and now the melee Dreadnought is out. This other Dreadnought needs to be turning around and causing melee, the other time when the Lictor gets wrecked by targets on Apothecary and Scouts. The Termagants get wiped by the heavy roll with Devastators. The Zone Throw is doing some decent work. This Swarm Lord is in serious trouble now. Librarian is sent to attack the Tyrant Guard, because obviously the Tyrant Guard is only super heavy infantry, so the power melee of the Librarian will actually do decent damage. I did not follow with Multi-Melted Dreadnought. I missed my throw and kept that in base, and that's why Swarm Lord is not dead. about to kill it, it's on 1 HP, and I get snared by the zone throw. Can you imagine that? So it escapes and lives. Meanwhile, the Tyrant Guard is too slow because it's out of synapses, and the artillery tower's over here. He used to charge earlier to disrupt my heavy bolts of devs. He goes in shield wall, but now he's going to die from both my melee dreadnought and my melter dreadnought. And I use the smite on the termagant. It's got a couple of models. Bang! That gives me something to be on my librarian. Why not? Here I just want the tax to cap, and I want the Apo to kill termagants because I want the XP on my Apo more than I do on the tax. Plus, obviously, I want the VPs, like, right now, because I noticed there's only 71 VPs left. I need to get rid of Riku's VPs. Yeah, basically this composition of the Veil of Time Devastators and the 2 Dreadnoughts is very, very tough for Tyrannus to beat, no matter what. Even in Tier 3, with a superior Riku, it's very tough for them to beat. Veil of Time Devastators make it such that zone throws are not that effective, and you don't need ASM either. Now obviously the extent to which that's true is dependent on how many line of sight blockers are on the map. This map does have quite a few line of sight blockers. This entire hill, there were some trees down here earlier, they've been destroyed by vehicles. Like all this down here, this is a big line of sight blocker. This little thing here is a line of sight blocker. These are, this backside is, this back side around here is, you know, there are a lot of line of sight blockers. Oh, and he concedes. Because really there's nothing he can do to push against this. Honestly, the map does help me a lot in this instance, because I'm using a very defensive play. You know, I've got 2 Devastators and a Librarian, and I've got 2 Dreadnoughts up here. He has to charge him with something, it's going to get hit by the melee Dreadnought. The multi-melee Dreadnought just does so much damage to vehicles, it's scary. And the line of sight blockers mean that you can't just attack ground with a zone throw. But even if you could, I could just move them out of the way with Veil of Time. If I had my other heavy bolter dev, which is actually down here now for whatever reason, I could Veil of Time it up, suppress his zone throw, force it off with tack and Apo, fire, maybe even some scouts. But scouts are risky because if you have the double termagants, even though he only has 1 now, we can only have 2, plus the Venom Brood, which he does go for in the end, that is necessary. They would kill the scouts extremely fast, so yeah, basically this is the composition that you used to beat Nids, to be honest. People always try ASM, but ASM get counter-initiated way too easily. Termagants don't give enough XP to make ASM even worth it, and ASM don't have power melee, so they don't even pop warriors that well. Personally, I find Devastators better because they just work so much better in Tier 1, even against the Lictor who can Flesh Hook. They just work better. At least if you're the Apothecary, because you can use full auto to counter that Lictor pretty damn hard. And the Devastators counter everything else except from Raveners, but if you have double Shotgun Scouts, Raveners die pretty fast too. Now the downside to this build is then that you have to deal with zone throws in Tier 2, and this is why you must get a Librarian. And this can be very micro-intensive, because you've got to be using Veil of Time all the time to dodge these zone throw shots. But at the same time, with the Librarian brings a lot of things to your composition as a whole. The Smite is extremely useful as Synapse creatures when combined with Kraken Bolts and a Plasma Gun and Tactical Marines. You kill them very, very, very fast. Add in a Melter Gun, really, you're killing them very fast. You eventually get the melee Dreadnought to counter Genestealer Broods, Swarm Lords, Carnifexes, and soft counter Tyrant Guards. The Melter Dreadnought absolutely slaughters Tyrant Guards, like it really, really slaughters them. Melter has a damage bonus versus She, super heavy infantry, and that's what Tyrant Guards are. Kills them very fast. Plus you have the really high AV damage from it, so you actually can kill it when it goes in shield wall as well. And that Melter Gun, again, is really good for killing Synapse creatures, and that's what you got to do in this matchup. Bleeding Termagants and Hormagaunts, especially in Elite mod, when there is endless swarms so they reinforce 2 at a time for the same price, it's really not effective. You don't hurt the Nid Eco, you need to hit the Synapse creatures. They give more XP, they cost more to replace, and then the knockback obviously allows you to kill a few of the Gaunts and Gants as well. But yeah, this is the key to the composition. What's my pop at now? 92 out of 100 you see, and I'm on Tier 3. I have absolutely no intention whatsoever of going Tier 3. And look how much red I had. I didn't even need to use Angels of Death in this game. I was so confident in each of those engagements. Although to be fair, back at this engagement down here when the Swarm Lord was here, I probably could have used Angels of Death, but I was panicking, I just forgot. But yeah, this build is pretty legit. 2 scouts, 2 devs, 2 dreadnoughts, and a librarian. It works with any of the heroes. Personally, I think the Apothecary is the best, just because he has the full auto, which counters the Lictor so hard. However, the Techmarine with his Plasma Gun and Signum is so handy with this build as well. Like, he makes Carnifexes and Swarm Lords utterly useless. You just use Mark Target on them, send the Melee Dread and the Metal Dread after it. Oh my god, they die so fast. And then you've got Veil of Time and Gate of Infinity to support your last devs, which snare it. No, honest to god, they can't do much. Basically, what does the Tyrannid do to counter you? Well, you're going to have a rough tier 1 if you're against the Lictor, because they can just pull your Devastators. Gets a bit easier in tier 2 when you've got really good range damage coming out, because you've got upgraded attacks and you've got a leveled Apothecary and you've got fully upgraded Scouts, and obviously you've got Veil of Time for your heavy bolter devs. But still, you have to be pretty careful with that Lictor, because he also gets Leap. So you need the full auto. Always have your Apothecary around your Devastators and always have your Librarian fairly close to your Devastators, but usually you want him a bit further back so he can Gate of Infinity them back if they get in trouble. At the same time, don't be afraid to use your Librarian against Termagants and Hormagaunts, because his melee specials do pretty good damage and they've got great AoE, and when he kills them he causes Inspiration, which will buff the damage of all your things. And always use Smites on the Synapse creatures. That is the key basically to winning the matchup. As a Tyrannid, you want zone throw-ups and you want to use them well. You want to attack ground against the Devastators while Veil of Time is off cooldown to force them off, and then once they're forced off, you charge in with your melee, that is your Tyrant Guard and your Hero and your Warrior Brood and Hormagaunts, always supported by 2 Termagants and a Venom Brood. You need the 2 Termagants and the Venom Brood because they will kill the Librarian, the Apothecary and the Scouts. The Hormagaunts should tie up the attacks, the Warrior Brood with the Adrenal Glands should tie up the Melted Dread, and the Tyrant Guard should go after the Melee Dread as well because it lacks melee resistance. Focus down the Melee Dread first, it dies a lot sooner because it lacks melee resistance. Watch out for the stun of the Melee Dread. But yeah, focus down the Melted Dread. Snare the Melted Dread with the Zone for Up Fire. Personally, I would avoid going tier 3 too early in this matchup because if the SM goes for really heavy tier 2, the Tyrannid and this sort of tier 2, the Tyrannid tier 3 doesn't actually do that much, to be honest. You'd be better off getting like 2 Zone for Ups and a Venom Brood and a Tyrant Guard. Because then you get the double snare, you get really good range DPS to kill this Melted Dread, the Tyrant Guard can tie it up. It's just better. And once you kill the Melted Dread, the Melee Dread's easy because it doesn't have the damage that the Melted Dread has, so it can't pop your Synapse as easily, it can't deal with the Tyrant Guard as easily. The Melted Dread really does deter your Lictor or your Hormagaunts or your Warriors from getting in on the Devastators, but that's why you need the 2 Zone Throws and attack ground with them. And also, flank with your Lictor Alpha and leap in, get model kills, flesh up the remaining models. That's the best way to do it. Anyway, there you go, that was quite a random cast. Fairly fast paced. I wanted to try and talk about quite a few different things there, so it was quite hard to explain it in such a short game, only a 20-minute game, and that's why the cast is actually a little bit longer. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Try this build out versus Tyranids. Be warned, it's micro-intensive because you're using 2 Dreads, 2 Devastators, and a Librarian and 2 Scouts. You know, you need your positioning to be quite good. You're constantly capping with one other Scout, but, you know, if you pull it off, if you've got the micro for it, it can be really hard to beat as a Tyrannid. They have to rely and cross their fingers with the Zone Throws, that the Zone Throws will actually hit your Devastators through the Fog of War. So it's pretty effective. There you go. Goodbye.